Okay, members. We're good to resume. I'm going to pass over at item 10, the independent planning review of Derry City and Strabane District Council's planning service. And I'm going to pass over to Karen to take us through a very substantial report.
Thank you, Chair. Members, through you, Chair, the purpose of the report is to provide an update to members on the independent review of our planning service and to seek members' endorsement in terms of the final report for adoption. Members, you will be aware that Council agreed to commission the independent review in light of the reports published by the NIAO in February 22 and the PAC in March 22. And Council appointed Arlosi Planning to conduct a review which was undertaken between November 22 and January 24. Members, the consultant's final draft report was presented to members of this committee in April 24, and members at the council meeting in May 24, members resolved that members endorse the approach to seek and consider the comments of stakeholders and interested parties in relation to the final draft report of the independent planning review of Council's planning service. Members, this consultation was undertaken during the summer of 2024 and 12 responses were received. The responses were collated and provided to the independent consultant for review and consideration. Members, a consultation report which considers all of the comments made, gives a response to them and suggests changes to the draft report as required, is attached as Appendix 2 to your report today. The comments made by stakeholders are included as part of the consultation report with personal information redacted. And the consultation report also provides an amended recommendation list and an implementation and monitoring plan. Members, you will be aware that a number of stakeholders indicated that they would like the opportunity to personally address elected members of their views. Should members wish to hear the views, officers potentially could arrange a future meeting of the planning working group to which the stakeholders could be invited. Members, in terms of implications, members were previously advised that the cost of further engagement, as outlined in section 3 of your report, would depend on the level of stakeholder engagement. The cost of the additional work is outlined in section 4 of your report, and this has been identified from existing budgets and has been paid. And members, as you're aware from our previous reports, senior officers continue to engage with staff and their trade unions in respect of this and other planning matters. So members, in terms of the recommendation, you're asked to consider the consultation report following the public consultation and to consider adopting the consultation report, which considers the submissions made, gives a response to them, outlines the changes suggested to the report following the consultation and provides an amended recommendation list and implementation and monitoring plan. Members, just for your information, late last week we received correspondence from a small number of the stakeholders who commented on the consultation, asking for some further time to be able to consider the report themselves as well. And I'm just letting members know about that today as well. I'm happy to take any comments or questions that members have. Thank you.
Okay, members, this is, I know it's quite a substantial report, but it's not the first time it's been presented to members. Albeit there's some additional information around some of the stakeholders' comments. Any Councillor McGinley?
Very good, Chair, and thank you, Karen, for the report. I think this has been going on for quite a long time, but given just the last wee suggestion there from yourself, Karen, in relation to stakeholders wanting that wee bit of additional time, it would be my understanding that any recommendation we would be making at this committee would have to be considered a full council anyway. I don't know, is it worth us waiting to make recommendations until full council to give time for that consideration to be given?
It's up to members. If members want to defer this item to full council, it's entirely up to members. So, yeah, any further comments? Councillor Donnelly?
Chair, in the interest of transparency, and we see one of the parts in this, the word cloud, and the bigger the word, the more important it was for people and more times it was used. And for residents, ratepayers and voters, the word transparent was very important. So I think that reneging on an offer to meet the stakeholders, because they have indicated that, and they were asked apparently, about feedback. It's a pity just that like our recent deputations, that they couldn't address this committee. And I'm thinking like the houses and multiple occupancy and data centres. And that's simply, Chair, in the interest of openness and transparency, where it could be viewed publicly and remain a matter of accessible public record. I get that there's not going to be another GSP meeting before full council. So I think it would be premature to vote to adopt this report until members hear from stakeholders. So I'm happy to go with Councillor McGinley's recommendation, and so that the stakeholders can give some feedback to council officers and elected reps.
So just from my understanding, there's a proposal from Councillor McGinley, seconded by Councillor Mooney, to defer this paper to full council. And can we ask officers to engage with those stakeholders that have requested to meet with members, that a meeting could be set up between them and council and members prior to full council, if at all possible?
You want a planning working group schedule between now and full council?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are people content with that? So that item has been deferred. Item number 11, the plan for neighbourhoods. Rachel?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to update members on the arrangements to progress the plan for neighbourhoods. And it's been prepared following the paper that was tabled at the last Governance and Strategic Planning Committee, which outlined that the long-term plan for towns is now being rebranded as the plan for neighbourhoods. And it will impact 75 localities across England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland to receive funding and support totalling up to 20 million, which will be a 75% capital, 25% revenue split over a 10-year period. 3 co-chairs have been nominated based on the community planning process in Derry and Strabane. We have an environment regen co-chair, a business or an economic co-chair and a social co-chair. And crucially, as a means of update, Chair, the neighbourhood board chairs were asked by the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government to confirm their suggested board membership and place boundaries by the end of April. The neighbourhood board, as you'll be aware, will be a delivery partnership aligned to the community plan and governance structures, and will provide feedback to the Strategic Growth Partnership and Council's Governance and Strategic Planning Committee. The suggested board membership was therefore taken from the relevant membership of the Strategic Growth Partnership. And at the outset, it is proposed that the board will consist of senior representatives from the Chamber of Commerce, City Centre Initiative, Inner City Trust, Visit Derry, the Council, PSNI, Ballyarnett, Foylside, Moore, Waterside Local Growth Partnerships, the MP, 2 elected members from the Strategic Growth Partnership, and the 3 MLAs on the Strategic Growth Partnership. It is envisaged that initial term will be 4 years, and preparations are underway to host the inaugural meeting of the board based on this suggested interim board membership. A draft terms of reference and partnership agreement has been drafted for the meeting. In terms of the boundaries then, members, the NISRA 2015 urban settlement data has been provided to help define the urban boundaries of Derry City. The funding prospectus states that for participatory interventions, it's not essential that all beneficiaries come from communities within the agreed boundary. And similarly to conversations that we've had at this committee, they've mentioned that active travel enhancements in the local area may extend beyond the agreed geographic boundary for the programme. So in order to align with the community planning processes in the city and district, the co-chairs have recommended that the boundaries align with the local growth partnerships and the DEAs of the city, namely the Foylside, Waterside, Moor and Ballyrarnet areas. In terms of financial implications, the council will be the accountable body for the administration of the funding. The Strategic Support Services team have met with the Chief Executive to discuss the appropriate controls and good governance requirements needed for this fund. And this has been considered in the drafting of the emerging governance arrangements for the inaugural meeting. There is a £600,000 capacity building funding available, 250 of which we've already received. The council's already received that from the department. And now the board will consider how this funding will be allocated, and it's likely the board will consider whether they'll use it to resource project management costs, secretariat, comms market and technical support for capital projects and community engagement initiatives. And once the ministry have considered the boundary recommendations and the board membership submitted by the co-chairs, a further £200,000 capacity building funding is due to be allocated. So the recommendations in front of you today, members, is it's proposed that members endorse the progress to date, namely the submission of the suggested membership and boundary information to the Ministry for Housing, Community and Local Government, the arrangements for the inaugural meeting underway, and be assured that updates will be tabled at subsequent governance and strategic planning committees. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Rachel. Councillor Duffy.
No, I just want to thank Rachel for the update, and I understand that the first meeting is on Friday, and I will look forward to attending and getting stuck in basically. So I don't think that there's much else to say. We have, it's good that the money is on paused again and we can start working on it. So no, just looking forward to the meeting on Friday. Thank you.
I'll say.
Thank you, Chair. Just wish the project well. And quick query, the capacity building actually enthralls me, given capacity differentials between urban and rural that have been discussed numerously in the past. The 600,000, is that part of the 25% allocation for administration?
It's part of the overall 20 million package with the exception of the 250,000, which has already been received. So it's 20,250,000 in total.
Chair, sorry, I understand that, but there's a 75%, 25% admin capital split. So I'm saying, I'm asking the 600,000 that's to be allocated for capacity building is part of the 25%. It's not in addition to that. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Farrell.
Just very briefly, I'm not sure if Alderman Hussey has seconded the proposal, but if not, I'm happy to do that. And like Councillor Duffy, I'm going to be sitting on this new board. I look forward to the inaugural meeting on Friday morning, and we hope that the £20 million that's attached to this fund is going to make a real tangible difference to this city and district from a regeneration perspective. So very good news.
Yeah. So we have a proposer from Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Farrell. No dissenting voices. So I'm going to take that as passed unanimously. And I think Councillor Farrell just sort of, in terms of your point around the difference that it's going to make to this city and district, whilst the fund is targeted towards parts of our city, the benefits will be wider spread because hopefully, and it was discussed at earlier meetings of this committee, that it will release funding for other projects within the rural DEA in the city and within the Sperrin and Derg DEAs. So that item has passed, and item 12 is the scheme of allowances, and it's Ellen that's taking us through that.
Through you, Chair, purpose of this report is to advise members of a recent circular on the consolidated councillor allowances, which was issued by the Department for Communities on the 2nd of April, and therefore to also seek approval for an updated scheme of allowances based on this circular. As indicated in the background section of the report, there was a circular recently issued on the 9th of December, and reports were brought forward to the January committee. This most recent circular, LG 1225, reflects an increase of 5% in the maximum for the basic allowances from the 1st of April 25, following the Minister's decision with executive agreement on the consideration of the recommendations of the report on the recent review of the role and responsibility of allowances of councillors. And also to note that within the circular, we're advised that the department is seeking an amendment to the relevant legislation to transfer responsibility for setting the rate of this allowance paid to councillors to the department itself. Key issues are that a revised set of allowances has been prepared to reflect the circular, and it is noted that the current scheme of allowances is based on the 24 rates for basic and responsibility allowances and the 24-26 rates for dependent carers allowances. The revised scheme would mean an annual an increase of the annual basic allowance from 17,456 to 18,329. The other allowances, namely subsistence and travel, remain unchanged, and the updated scheme also allows for no changes in the mayoral and deputy mayoral allowances. I would note, however, at 3.5 that the maximum level of responsibility allowances has remained unchanged from the 2024 circular, and it was previously reported to committee that there was a non-reallocation of special responsibility allowances of approximately 6,000. If members are so minded to increase that in line with the basic allowance, that would reduce that balance to approximately £2,500. There are no sort of rural needs or climate change or data protection associated with this report. In terms of the determinations, they're all made by the department under Section 31 of the Local Government Finance Act, and the updated scheme, as indicated previously, is effective from the 1st of April 25. It's noted that the allowances set out in the circular are the maximum permitted, but council has discretion to set allowances up to these amounts. And the recommendation in front of members this afternoon is that, subject to your comments, the updated scheme of allowances based on circular LG 1225 with no increase in the level of special responsibility allowances as set out in Appendix 2 is adopted. Thank you, members.
Okay, members, any comments? Alderman Hussey?
Chair, I'll be proposing the recommendation, but just a few comments. The amount recommended actually falls short of what came through from the review, the recent review that was carried out, falls very far short. And members may be interested to know that the Minister for Communities considers that the working hours of a councillor is 20 hours per week. I find that absolutely ridiculous. The man has not got a clue on the work that is done by councillors. He simply hasn't got a clue. But the recommendation is there. I propose the recommendation, Chair.
Okay, Alderman Kerrigan?
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. And couple of just two, well, I suppose 2 wee points in regards to it there. I do note in 3.5, and I will make a declaration as a member of the planning committee, and preface to what to what I'm just about to come out and state here. I do believe, and I can't recall the answer that I was given because I think I've asked it. I have asked it before, not think I have asked it before. Was there discussion at a time that due to the sometimes the onerous task in regards to the planning committee, that there was potentially a special allowance to be placed on those that were appointed onto the planning committee? In the same regard that, I mean, there's approximately £6,000 that Ellen has referenced in regards to, which is then going to be divvied up amongst the chairs and vice chairs of the other committees. And was that, I believe that was removed from the audit risk assurance because it doesn't meet monthly. And then there was talk, was there, in regards to appointing that as effectively a special allowance that was appointed then to members of planning committee. Now, I'm asking that question, was that done or has that been looked at? And just on a second point, yes, the allowance that's stated now today is well short of the of the recommended. And I mean, even if we look back at our RICH process, we had initially set considerably higher than this allowance. We had initially estimated between 20 and 25,000, and it falls well short of that. Yes, there is a difference in the councils, and but one of the major factors as to that I personally find is there's a difference when councils meet. I mean, last Thursday, I was, or last Wednesday, sorry, I was away with housing executive, and I was unable to attend full council. One of my colleagues was sitting, and he had his full council, but that didn't start to 7 o'clock that night. You know, so you know that's a downside that I personally feel, that our meetings are during the working day. For a part-time role, it's during the working day, and it is difficult with other work. You know, there's a lot of councils from Anoma, Ards, North Down, who usually meet in the evening times, and we're meeting, you know, 2 o'clock for the like of planning, 2 o'clock for full council, 4 o'clock for the majority of the committees. Working groups could meet at 10 in the morning. Working groups can meet and 2 in the afternoon. You know, it's during the working day as well. So I do find there's a major difference amongst the councils across the country there in regards to when the meetings are, because that's a major factor as well, and the time involved in getting to them. So you know, there's a difference in councils too. So I do take
Alderman Kerrigan,
Yeah.
can I sort of
Yeah,
bring you back under the paper
yes,
that
yes, that's me
discussing?
too. That's me sort of point reference as well to Alderman Hussey's comment there. But no, in regards to that's an issue which I personally have, you know, in regards to it. There's a disparity across the councils there in regards to when we meet. Because I mean, when other people, if it is deemed as a part-time role, you know, we all have other work, and if you're steady having meetings during the working day, not convenient.
Okay, so Alderman Kerrigan, have you seconded the paper?
I can't second, Chair, because I'm not a member.
Okay, okay. Is there Councillor Farrell?
I'm happy to second the proposal.
Okay, is there any further comments? Councillor Duffy?
Chair, I reserve my comments just until this point for that reason. We did take a principled stand a number of years ago, did not vote on our own pay rise here within this chamber, and it's still the position of our grouping, but I understand where other people are coming from. I also understand at the last opportunity that there was a vote taken, some people were financially inconvenienced by it, as there was back money that put their own personal finances under pressure in terms of housing benefit and different things. So it caused difficulty for people here. So I don't want to see a repeat of that. I do welcome the change in the legislation from the department, where the department will take that decision, and I think that's the rightful place for a decision to be taken. But I just wanted to put that on record for today. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Donnelly?
Chair, I'm going to abstain.
Is there any further comments? We've got a proposer from Councillor Alderman Hussey, seconded by Councillor Farrell. Can I pass to yourself, John, to take a vote?
Thank you, Chair. Alderman Cook,
For.
Alderman Hussey,
Or
Councillor Donnelly, abstain. Councillor Sandra Duffy,
Abstain.
Councillor Farrell,
Or
Councillor Hart,
abstain.
Councillor Heaney,
Abstain.
Councillor Jackson,
Abstain.
Councillor McDade, Councillor McGinley,
Abstain.
Councillor Mooney, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Tierney. Okay, thank you, members. Chair, I have recorded 5, 4, and 7 abstentions, so the proposal passes. Thank you.
Okay, items 13 to 18 are open for information. I'm going to go through them. Item 13. Councillor Devine.
Chair, thank you for allowing me to come in. I'm not a member of committee, so thanks for allowing me to speak on this. I just would like to extend my thanks as the co-chair of the Rural Issues Working Group to Una and to Linda for the work that they do on the Rural Issues Working Group for us. The group has been key in highlighting and trying to find solutions for the issues, the unique issues and challenges that are faced by rural residents and by the groups that provide services there. I'd also like to welcome the funding that's come through the Peace Plus for the HARC project. It's great news. It is, however, regrettable, and I've spoken about this before, that due to Brexit, we have been able to access EU funding that rural stakeholders have had access to previously, and that has provided really great benefits and facilities in our rural communities. We are currently awaiting the final report from the audit and the scoping exercise that has been conducted recently. And some of the initial findings were presented at the Rural Symposium that was held back in March. And it looks like there's an indication that there are some disparities in funding and gaps in resourcing. So I suppose we look forward to that final report coming out, and hopefully that then will provide us with evidence that we will find useful in the rural communities, the rural DAs can use, maybe to try and source additional funding to support those the groups that are delivering services there. So look, I just welcome the funding. All funding that we get into those rural areas are really welcome, and hopefully there will be some further announcements from Peace funding that can benefit the rural areas as well again in the future. So thank you, Chair, for that.
Thanks, Caroline. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, and can I welcome the fact that Councillor Devine is online and congratulate her for her work as Chair of the Rural Issues Working Group. I don't know how many years ago it was when I proposed that this group would be established, and it's beginning to prove its worth. Although I want to compare 3.8, the 150k provided for capacity building in the rural area vis-a-vis the what we've just heard, 600k for capacity building in the urban area. But we will continue to work on it. The input is very welcome, and indeed I have to praise the enthusiasm of all of those who contribute to the Rural Issues Working Group, and indeed who contributed to the symposium going forward. It's proving its worth. It may irk some people now and again, the voice from the rural area, but it is now being vocalised and we can see heard in various centres going forward. So thank you for that. And again, just to remind folk of Caroline's chairing of that group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 14. Item 15. A note Alderman Kerrigan's declaration of interest. Item 16. Councillor Duffy.
Chair, I just wanted to comment on item 16, which is the housing executive's consultation regarding the consolidation of their office accommodation. I would hope that we are going to feed into that consultation. I know as a party we have expressed our concerns and the concerns that have certainly been brought to us by some of the staff that work in both the Waterside office and in the Colin Terrace office. They are valued offices within our communities. The staff who work within them are valued staff. And obviously then our constituents, or I can't remember what way Alderman Hussey describes them, but electors absolutely should have a huge say in this because they use these offices regularly. I know that I would attend meetings in these offices, and they are well attended in terms of people coming in to use the front desk, and people depend very much on these services. And while getting a bus to the town probably doesn't seem a lot to some people, it can for others, and there are many issues similar to this that I think that we need to be feeding into the consultation. It's causing great concern and great upheaval to the staff that are currently working within these offices. So I think that we talked at the start of this meeting around BT and their consolidation of their offices to a central hub in Belfast. Well, this is of a similar nature in terms of a consolidation of community offices to a central office within the town centre. So I think that we should have the same consistent attitude across the board. So I would just like to raise those concerns and hope that we feed that into the consultation. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell.
Chair, it seems like myself and Councillor Duffy are agreeing on everything today apart from Councillor Pay. So I was going to suggest that we as a council respond to the consultation. We have similar concerns regarding the consolidation of housing executive services that are currently spread across 4 sites in this city. Most notably, it is the impact on the district office at Colin Terrace and for the one on the Waterside. Those are important offices in local areas, and the same level of service, the same level of convenience, the same level of access cannot be guaranteed in a city centre site. So we believe that council should respond to the consultation. It's important that an organisation such as the Housing Executive exists in communities. And, so the Colin Terrace office, and I'm going to speak as a Ballyarnett rep, it is accessible to people throughout Cairnhill, Shantallow, Fairn Abbey, all those areas in Greater Shantallow. The same cannot be said for Carlisle Road. So if the Housing Executive want to be seen as part of the community, they need to remain in the community that they serve. So that would be our view. We can see some value in terms of financial savings for the Housing Executive and how that's reinvested, but those are outweighed by community concerns and staff concerns also. So we too believe the council should respond to that consultation.
Okay. Alderman Hussey.
I think just very briefly, I'm noting that the current staff level is 265 and across the 4. So I suppose part of our response should be that seeking that assurance that there will still be 265, if not more, in the new setup. And I appreciate the relationship to the BT scenario, and I'm delighted that the Strabane office is not included on that. But going forward, there's nothing to say that the same sort of scenario could develop. And Sorry, boys, we're moving the Strabane one down here as well, you know, so appreciate all of that. Thank you.
Okay. Just to be clear, the proposal from Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Farrell, that council contributes to or responds to the consultation. And I just want to say from a Waterside councillor's perspective, I know there was emails that were circulated. And I think every single one of the Waterside councillors have written to the housing executive in one way or another, and I know that had been replicated by the MLAs as well. So I have every confidence that it would be the view consistently throughout council, that we would respond and we would respond on a positive note in relation to the concerns that have raised, backing up the concerns that have been raised by those employees. So
Chair, on the basis of comments today, if members are content, we'll draft that up and bring it back into full council for members' endorsement prior to sending off to the housing executive by the closing date of the 9th of June, from as I can see here. That's okay.
So that's unanimous. Item 17 and item 18. Can I ask for a proposal
Go into committee.
to go into confidential? Councillor Mooney, seconded by Alderman Hussey.